new hot and techy Brezza, the Citybird SUV.
We look at what the selectors and the team management eventually go with. Rohit Sharma will captain India one more time in an ICC event. No surprises in the top four. Both keepers, Pant and Samson, a return to Rishabh Pant in India colours. And you have Sanju Samson also in that squad. Dubey, Pandya, can we possibly see both in the same playing side? What a wonderful IPL he's had. Jadeja and Akshar Patel. So similar skill set in a spin-heavy 15, which includes also Kuldeep Yadav and Yuzvendra Chahal. Therefore, light on seam potentially with just Bumrah leading the pace attack. Arshdeep and Siraj make the cut. Avesh Khan and Khalil as seam bowling reserves. Shubman Gill as the opening bat reserve or top order bat reserve. And it looks like Rinku Singh was the casualty of India's balance for that squad. First reactions from that is the spin-heavy nature of it. I don't know how many teams will name 4 spin options and just 3 genuine pace options. So let's get a reaction on that. Tom.
I think firstly, I think it identifies what the selectors and the captain and the coach feel is the best make-up to win this World Cup. They have flagged that their strength is spin versus pace, apart from Jasprit Bumrah, and they have got a high-quality top 6, or if not top 7. So I think they've identified that, which I quite like. They've made it very clear through that selection that that's how we're going to win this World Cup. We've got a high-quality batting order. We've got a versatile spin attack that we can play 3 spinners, we can play 2 quick bowlers, and we can play one of those all-rounders or possibly 2. So I quite like it because they're sticking to their strength. If you look at their pace bowling resources,
yes,
it's not as strong or as in form as they would like. So ideally, you'd like to carry 4 fast bowlers, but that's not the case. So they've gone with what they feel is their strength.
Let's point out the conditions that they know they will get. All-day games.
Yep.
So no evening games, including if they make the semi and the final. Wasim, your reaction to the spinners they've picked?
I think it was obvious and expected ones. I think Yuzvendra Chahal obviously picked Bishnoi through his performances in this IPL, and it makes sense to pick him. I think he's got a lot more variety, he's more confident. I don't see him playing at the start, even though, because obviously Kuldeep and Jadeja might play. You won't be able to fit another spinner there. Even if you can, you could probably play Akshar, but not Yuzvendra Chahal. Rinku Singh again is the same case because Shivam Dube outplayed him in this IPL and he's forced his way into the World Cup team. But I think it makes sense. It looks a good team. And again, you can't play 3 seamers. I don't think you can because of the combinations. So you'll have to play 2. And then you are expecting Hardik to bowl and probably even Shivam Dube to bowl a few overs.
Just on that note, Wasim, since you've brought out Chahal versus Bishnoi, if they decided they're going to take an extra wrist spinner in the 15, yes, it's been a tougher IPL for Bishnoi. Chahal's been excellent. He always is in the IPL. But in the last 12 months, Bishnoi was playing more international cricket. Yeah. He is in the top 6 rankings, I think, for T20I bowlers, for whoever values those things. Rankings at times can be, you could have your own opinions on it. But has IPL form decided Chahal over Bishnoi and Dube over Rinku? But India went with a different philosophy and we thought they may not want to be too influenced by IPL form.
I think they have, especially in the case of Dube. Rinku Singh was definitely ahead of him before the IPL. But how Dube batted in this IPL, he's definitely forced selectors to think because he can give you a couple of overs as well, even though he's not bowled in the IPL because of the impact subs. But I think it brings a lot of value. And Rinku's form as well. He, for some reason, obviously didn't get that many opportunities at the top of the order. But Shivam Dube made the most of it. And Yuzvendra Chahal, 200 wickets in IPL. His form again in this IPL has forced. And Bishnoi is not bowling at his best. So probably those 2 guys have forced selectors to rethink.
Look at that as the number of teams that will be playing India in the Super 8s. New Zealand are in fact one of them as well. You look at that squad and how would you feel about facing that Indian team, which is light on seam, heavy on spin?
Yeah, well, at the start of the show you spoke about the conditions and knowing the conditions. I think that's still well up in the air because a lot of the wickets are going to be dropping wickets. wouldn't have played on those surfaces. Generally drop in wickets. We get a lot of them in New Zealand, and generally they pop and they're tennis bally and they don't take a lot of turn and they seam. So going in with a spin heavy attack may not be one of the best options. But, you know, it could. We just don't know. We just don't know exactly what the conditions are. I feel like they've gone with spin for the pointy end of the tournament. When the games start, does India play any games? They'll play in the Caribbean come Super 8, won't they?
Yes, all the fixtures move to the Caribbean from the Super 8s. The US only hosts the group stage.
So I think they're planning on getting through the group stage in conditions. Said, well, okay, we'll suck up the conditions that we're going to get there. They might not be turning conditions, and then already built the squad around what they're expecting to get in the Caribbean. So it makes sense if they're looking at what you've spoken about, Tom, playing maybe Akshar Patel batting at 7, Jadeja at 8, because that's a concern that was spoken about through this IPL, was Jadeja's form with the bat, and a lot of people were saying that maybe Jadeja at 7 is going to be too high, and I think Akshar Patel's form, particularly in the recent couple of games with the bat, has kind of probably put them at ease in terms of making that selection, or having to make that selection with Akshar Patel instead of going with another seamer. So, you know, I guess the toss-up probably would have been Akshar Patel or Avish Khan into that 15.
I guess the sentiment would be around whether Rinku Singh has done much wrong. Is he simply a casualty of someone had to miss out? And his IPL form hasn't helped, as Wasim points out. In T20I cricket, it's tough to ignore. Well, average you can understand. He's had a lot of not outs, striking at 176. It's not an easy role to play, and yet Rinku Singh has played it really well in the limited opportunities. He's had 15 matches and only 11 innings. And IPL 2024 has not gone for him. Mohammad Siraj is also in that squad, who has had a tough IPL. But you have picked him in this team. You've maybe made a judgment call on Chahal v Bishnoi or Dubey v Rinku on it. But somewhere you'll have some players picked in spite of a ordinary IPL, and some players who miss out because of an ordinary IPL.
I really feel for Rinku Singh, because I think he's a super player, and he deserves every opportunity that comes his way. He's had a difficult IPL purely because of opportunity, not because of form. And we've used this term before in this program around he's not out of form, he's out of runs. Even though he was forced up the order the other night, to give him a bit of an opportunity, give him some time in the middle. He only got 11 off 11 balls. But again, you can't make a judgment on that. The way I see it is the selectors, it had nothing to do with form. It had everything to do with the fact that Dubey can bowl. If Rinku Singh could bowl, if they're identical cricketers, is left-hand middle order batters, the powerhouse players that both bowl medium pace part-time, Rinku Singh would be in that squad, the way I see it. But the fact that Dubey bowls, it gives them more flexibility to get various combinations around balancing their side with either 3 spinners or 2 spinners.
What I'm curious is whether Rinku is actually one of the only players who India identified as a specialist back-end or back-overs player or finisher. Finisher sometimes a curious word, where a man who enters, say, in the 16th over or so and is supposed to have the job to then get you impactful boundaries of against death bowling, which somehow Shivam Dubey's role seems to have changed in the IPL, more a middle-over spin hitter. So we're putting Rinku in the likes of perhaps David Miller, what maybe Matthew Wade did in the 2021 T20 World Cup, Mark Chapman for New Zealand. I don't know if either Samson, Pant, Dubey or any of the batting resources they've gone with actually do that. Yeah. So have they made a mistake about roles here? Have they possibly missed that?
I don't think so. I think I'd be keeping Dubey in the role that he's currently playing for Chennai Super Kings, because he's doing that as well as anyone does it at the moment. I'd be getting Hardik Pandya to go back to the role he used to have at Mumbai Indians and say, you finish games for us. Because to me, he hasn't commanded the position at 4 or 5. If he had commanded that position of 4 and 5 since his transition from Gujarat to Mumbai, it'd be a different conversation. But he is a very good finisher, and he has shown that historically. So I'd be getting into his head and saying, this is your role. You're going to bat 6 or 7, and you're going to finish games for us because you can hit the ball out of the ground for us.
So entry points wise, so Dubey is your 10 to 15 and Hardik is your 16 to 20 entry point players. Is that what it means?
Yeah, I think your top 4 will remain the same.
Yes.
No matter what happens, you will always send Kohli at 3, and Surya at 4. But I think after that, you'll be forced to probably send Shivam Dube, and Rishabh Pant probably have to do another job. So I'll probably put Shivam Dube ahead of Rishabh Pant if I have to. And then Rishabh Pant might have to do that finisher's role along with Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja.
Excellent record for Shivam Dube. It's been a wonderful IPL for him, 2 wonderful IPLs for him, and he's even done, he's made an impact when he's got his India chances. You can understand it. Curiously, we've not seen him bowl for Super Kings, so there's that aspect that he can bowl, but he hasn't, we haven't seen that. They also decided for 2 keepers. It looks like they'll only have to decide one in their playing 11, one at best or reserve. And they decided Samson and Pant. KL Rahul therefore misses out. Tom Moody had named Rahul in his original 15 and said Samson would be the reserve. Just looking at how their IPL has gone, you can sense perhaps why they've gone with Samson.
Yeah, look, I was pretty split with this decision.
Yeah.
You know, I leant slightly towards KL Rahul, and I explained my reasoning around. I felt that he had more experience in batting in multiple positions for India, and he has done it before and successfully for India in all formats, batting, you know, up and down the order. He's always been the one that's moved in that side. I don't have an issue at all with Sanju Samson in that side because he's a wonderful player and he's in red hot form. So, you know, to me, that was always going to be a split decision.
Who should be India's number 1 keeper though? Pant?
I think they're going to go Pant because if Dube doesn't play, it will give you a left-hander in the middle if they want to go with those 3 spinners. But there's a chance that if they don't want to go with the 3 spinners and just play 2, then Sanju Samson comes into the play. But I think Rishabh Pant, where he bats traditionally, probably suits him more to go in the starting lineup when you've got your top 4 locked in. But I could see Sanju Samson coming in and generating a strike rate in the middle as well.
Pant or Samson as your first keeper?
I think because, like I said, if anything happens to the top 4, you'll probably pick Samson. But if somebody has to bat 5 and 6, that has to be Pant.
All right. The seamers. Only 3 could make the cut. It's tough place for fast bowlers these days. If only 3 make it to India's T20 World Cup squad, no matter what the conditions might be. But they've gone with Siraj and they've gone with Arshdeep Singh. And this is perhaps what creates the biggest debate here. Both Arshdeep and Siraj have not necessarily had the strongest IPL. We're not worried about Bumrah here. And do you potentially see a team where all 3 seamers might play? 3 seamers is usually how we go, but so not in this case, can we?
I don't think we're going to see all 3 seamers play.
In which case, who's the second seamer to Bumrah?
I'd go Bumrah, obviously, and then Arshdeep. I think just the ability to bring the ball back, change of angle as a left-hander, to have the depth to go across the right-handers. You know, a lot of those grounds in the Super 8, if they make it through, are going to have short sides, and a couple of the islands and the Caribbeans get strong winds as well. So that can come into play. So you need someone who can change the angles up. So I line him up as my second seamer.
Yeah, we talk about Arshdeep being a multiple phase bowler. We've used that phrase to describe him many times on the show. And we just have a look at how Arshdeep and Siraj have gone at the end. Mitch, would the 11.6 bother you at all things considered? 6 wickets and more or less the same amount of overs bowled by both Arshdeep and Siraj in the final 5 this IPL.
No, it doesn't bother me too much. Obviously, you'd like to see it around 10 or under 10 if you could. But I think the method of what he's been trying to achieve and the situations he's been in bowling those overs, I think he's done a pretty good job. There's enough there to make me feel confident that he's going to come right. And remember, it was the first couple of games where his figures really ballooned out. Recently, he's been in pretty good form.
Is there a case for them to have picked perhaps the more impactful left-arm seamer because was this also a 50-50 call? Could you have gone Natarajan with his death experience? They've even named Khalil on the reserves, Tom, and not Natarajan. Even if you have to pick an extra left-arm seamer, is Khalil a better option?
They're 2 different bowlers. Khalil gives them an option with a new ball. He's not going to give you an option at the end. I think he's shown that over recent times that he's too inconsistent at the end, but he's dynamite with the new ball. So I think the selection of Khalil, the selectors feel that they need a new ball replacement option against a specialist death. And if you're going specialist death, you know, Natarajan's an absolute no-brainer. You know, he is an absolute standout along with Bumrah when it comes to bowling at the back end. Natarajan would consider himself, I think he should consider himself unlucky not to actually be in consideration, whether it be not be in the 15, but certainly not in the breakout squad, because he's back on song. He's bowling as well as he has done in the IPL. He's nailing those Yorkers in a season where we've seen record numbers of sixes, and he's been very good.
Would you have gone for any other makeup of the reserves? They've gone for Avesh and Khalil. We could have had a case for even maybe Avesh making the main 15. Siraj could have been on the reserves if looking at his IPL form. But what do you make of the reserves they've picked?
I mean, it makes sense, Avesh and Khalil. But yeah, Natarajan has a case without a doubt. So I'll probably put Natarajan in that bracket. Other than that, I think those two, select themselves. I thought Khalil bowled really well in this IPL. He was out of favour before this, but the way he's bowled with the new ball, I think he's been pretty good. And Avesh has come really good this season. So Avesh is another candidate who might come in because of the way he's bowled in the death.
I think the last question that I have, everyone's going for Jaiswal there. There are some thoughts entertaining whether Rohit and Kohli could open to then allow more high impact players or big hitters. You could have Samson in that, you could have Dubey in that, you could play two all-rounders, you could have a really deep batting. It would be at the expense of Jaiswal. Any takers for that, or is Jaiswal certainly in India's first 11 and their best top order?
I think if they were thinking that way, Rinku Singh would be in the squad. I don't think they're thinking that way. Therefore, Rinku, unfortunately, is a casualty.
Yep, and I think it also, we can see with Rohit Sharma named captain, that is the design that might suit him and Virat Kohli. We know that they play well in tandem as they did in the 50 over Men's World Cup. Rohit, Jaiswal and Kohli at 3 is the most likely option at the T20 World Cup. And it'll be nice to see Rohit Sharma 10 tosses again. He's not doing that in the IPL. That has been done by Hardik Pandya, the player that India would now be hoping seriously finds form towards the latter half of this IPL. Very interesting dynamic though, with all that's gone down. We're still waiting to see the best of Hardik with both bat and ball, fair to say. We saw shades of his ability in the last game and the previous one. There's also what's going on in between the years for Hardik, and his comments at the end of the last game were unique, where he sort of specifically singled out the left-hander not taking down left-arm spin, and young Tilak Verma played a good innings, and we're just bringing that out. This was just his post-match comments. I think it was just a little game awareness that we missed out. End of the day, that cost us the game. Wonder how you'd feel if you were Tilak Verma, and what this tells us about maybe the headspace that Hardik is in.
It's not nice. It's not nice to react in such a way. I'm sure he's got 60 of 30 odd deliveries, so I think he played really, really well. And for him to single out Tilak, I think it's uncalled for. It's not what really good captains do.
I think sometimes, even in just general conversations in life, we spit things out of our mouths and regret them straight away. And I reckon this is probably going to be one of them. I mean, Tilak, he took an over for 14. The going rate was probably around 14, 15 at that point. And he was doing what he needed to do and almost got them into a position to win that game before you got run out. So that's if you're in that position, you made a mistake. I hope he spoke to Tilak, because I thought Tilak had done a really good job in that game. And I think it's very difficult to single out one over or one matchup in a game of 40 overs. There were so many moments in that game where Mumbai let themselves down, and each individual in that team, you could probably pinpoint 2 or 3 moments each. So to single out a single moment is pretty tough.
With this, I mean, it would have been on expected lines anyway, but the dynamic between Rohit and Hardik has been up for much spicy conversation and scrutiny. Now the squad's been announced. We know the dynamic. We know where Hardik Pandya finds himself as a player at this stage, but do you see things just switching back to normal once they get back to India colours? Is there something that you see perhaps improving with the announcement of the squad?
I think it needs to improve. Simple as that. With regards to the comments that Hardik made, I think at the end of the day, I think that tells you a lot about the headspace that Hardik Pandya is in.
Yep.
There's a lot of scrambled thinking, and it doesn't just apply to comments post-match, it applies to his captaincy. And what would have been a smarter play from the leader is look inwardly and make a comment about his own position and his own decision making and making that a statement against looking outwardly and pointing the finger somewhere else.
Okay, as we very quickly, before we get to team news from Lucknow, we've seen the 15, we'll see it one more time, and maybe you guys could give us your best 11, assuming everyone's fit. India start with Ireland and then play the big one against Pakistan. One would assume they will play their best team in both those games. So, the 4 that miss out, therefore, Wasim?
One of the fast bowlers, Siraj or Arshdeep.
Who would you
one
go
of them.
for? Would you go Arshdeep and Bumrah? So Siraj?
I'll probably go with Siraj.
Okay, you'll go Siraj.
Yeah,
So,
Siraj and Bumrah.
So no Arshdeep.
Yeah.
What else?
Yuzi misses out.
Yuzi is well out.
Aksar misses out for me.
Okay, and the keeper spot, I guess.
And Samson misses out.
Okay, so you would go Rohit, Jaiswal, Kohli, Surya, Pant, Dubey, Pandya, Jadeja, which gives you batting till 8.
Yeah.
And then Kuldeep Yadav, and you've gone for Siraj and Bumrah and not Arshdeep. Mitch, changes to that?
No, I'll go the same.
Okay, it's not the
Lock it.
left-hander then. No Arshdeep for you to start with either.
Oh, no, sorry, I'll go Arshdeep.
You'll go
instead
Arshdeep,
of
yeah.
Siraj.
So Arshdeep for Siraj and still batting till 8.
Yeah.
And Pant over Samson.
Yeah.
Tom?
I'd make the final. I'd be much the same. I'd just make the final decision on whether I go the left arm pacer or the right arm Mohammad Siraj, depending on how the opposition line up batting wise. Whether I need or I feel the benefit of a left armour against their line up against a right armour.
The reason as well, the Sanju Samson one's a big one, right? It's the reason I say punt over Samson as well is because if Dubey gets out, then you've only got Jadeja as your other left-hander to kind of take on spin in the middle, and I just think you might want that extra cartridge, that extra bullet to fire away in that middle phase if Dubey doesn't get in.
So the first thing I've seen is that all of you want Hardik, Jadeja and Dubey to play in your 11, which gives India batting till 8, more bowling options, even though you don't have too many specialist seam bowling options. Let's say if in a game India want to play all their seamers and they only have 3 specialist seamers now, would that come at the expense of one of the all-rounders? Would that come at the expense of the wrist spinner? Or will you always play a wrist spinner?
Kuldeep's playing every game.
Every game.
Yeah.
And Chahal will be back up for Kuldeep. You never see the two of them playing together.
No.
So you've got Chahal as one backup, the keeper as one backup. So those are like for like. Akshar is also a like for like if Jadeja does not find form, which might be a concern with the bat.
Yeah. I would personally consider, depending on the conditions, depending on the opposition, a combination with 3 spinners, with Aksar at 7, Jadeja 8, Kuldeep 9, and the 2 quicks, and Dubey not playing and Hardik playing. So you got the 2 specialist quicks. Hardik is the 3rd quick and 3 specialist.
So another one of the potential permutations is Aksar versus Dubey.
Yeah, that's how I see, personally, that's how I see the 2 different options they've got, and that's why I made the point around, I quite like the selection purely because it's based on what India is feeling their strength is with the ball at the moment. If India had a couple of Bumrahs, we wouldn't be talking about so much spin because it'd be absolute a lock 3 pace bowlers, but that's not the case. So I quite like the idea of having the 3 specialist spinners with Hardik as the all-rounder, that's responsible for overs, and your 2 specialist quicks.
2 left-arm spinners, if you have to get almost 6 to 8 overs out of them with the way teams stack up with left-handers and left and right, is that a risk?
Well, that depends on who you play.
Opposition,
So it depends who you're playing against and what the conditions are to whether you go that 3.
And if Aksar plays in the same team, is he good enough at the moment to bowl with the new ball, which used to be his role earlier on in
He can do,
IPLs?
yeah. If it's 2 right-handers, I'm sure he can do that easily.
All right, so there is some flexibility there. Is there any case that Dubey and Hardik are competing if, say, one doesn't find form? Let's say Hardik Pandya. Dubey is in form. Hardik Pandya, you're still hoping.
No, because most of your lineups you have Hardik needing to bowl. That's the problem.
Hardik needs to play and Hardik needs to perform for India to do it.
Unless Dubey starts bowling now and then starts becoming.
And you named him vice captain. I don't know if that also adds to. We're not worried about Hardik, even if he doesn't fire. He's playing every game, surely, no matter what the IPL does.
Yeah.
I think for Hardik as well, this World Cup is very, very important for him, how he performs, because after this World Cup, Rohit might not play in the T20, so whether Hardik takes over or, somebody else jumps the queue is also going to be
Very
the
good
case.
point.
All new hot and techy Brezza, the Citybird SUV.